Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and welcome to the PC Part Picker Placeholder build. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, in today's video we'll be taking a look at a placeholder build. Now, you're probably thinking, Mike, what the hell is a placeholder build? Well, we've got a lot of new stuff on the horizon at the moment. We've got some new processors coming out, we've got some new graphics cards coming out, but there's a lot of you that want to get a PC built, start using it, and not have to worry too much about future-proofing, all those kinds of things. So a really good idea is to build yourself a placeholder type PC. So you can build your core system out of some really good parts, but you can substitute some of them for ones that are currently available and that have excellent resale value or can potentially use in another system. So let's go through the PC part picker list and I'll give you some explanations of the items, why I've chosen them, why they're good placeholders, and all those kinds of good things. Now essentially this build comes out to around about $850, $860, which in the UK equates to around about £680 to £700. So it's in that kind of magical spot, so it still leaves you a little bit of leeway. When time comes to upgrade, you can throw in that new graphics card or swap out that CPU and have a really killer system. So let's get straight into it. So this is the PC part picker. This is my saved parts list, and this one's titled the Ryzen 4000, 5000 and 6000 series PC placeholder. And the reason it's called that is because at the moment we don't really know what the new Ryzen processors, or for that matter the new big NAVI cards, are actually going to be called. Obviously Nvidia have told us what their cards are. We've got the 3000 series, but as far as AMD goes, we've got about a month from today's video release to find out exactly what the deal is. So starting off, we've gone with the processor. Now the processor I've chosen for this is a placeholder processor. So this is a relatively low-end system. If obviously this is your budget and this is what you want to do, this is definitely a good choice. There isn't really a bad choice at the moment as far as AMD is concerned. This is the Ryzen 3 3100. It's a 4-core 8-thread processor. Base clock's 3.6 GHz and boosts up to 3.9 GHz, and people have managed to overclock them to considerably higher. This also gives a lot of the older Intel flagship devices a run for their money. So if you've maybe got a 6600K, 6700K, that kind of thing, this is going to be more than adequate. And again, it's fantastic for 1080p gaming. Combined with our placeholder system, this is great. You can get up and running, play the latest games at your lower resolutions and lower frame rates, but it still gets the job done. And also, these have really, really good resale value. When the time comes and you want to upgrade your CPU, put in your new 4000 or 5000 series processor, you can quite easily put this back on the market and get pretty much 75% of its value back, which is excellent. Or alternatively, if you want to build another system, maybe a cheaper low-end system, using some of your placeholder parts, you can put together a really good budget system. And if you want to see some details of budget systems, click on the link up here, and you can get some other ideas for what you can do with that. So that is our processor. In the UK at the moment, we're around about £90 thereabouts. In the US, the best price I could find was around about $110, which again is fantastic value for money, and this is actually of a seriously good chip. So next up is our motherboard. Now the motherboard is one of your key components. That is going to give you your flexibility and your longevity, at least hopefully, on the AMD platform. Obviously, we do not know what is happening with AMD. There is the rumours of the AM5 socket, and when that's going to come in, no one really knows for sure. So at the moment, as far as things go, on the AM4 platform, the X570 chipset, as it stands, is the best bang for buck. Has all the PCI Express Gen 4 features for your drives, graphics cards, all those kinds of things. All the really nice features like addressable RGB, loads and loads of ports, loads and loads of bandwidth, obviously processor support willing. But generally the X570 boards are extremely good. But with the B550s, they are also an attractive proposition. But at the moment, it does seem that the prices between some of the better B550 boards and some of the actually really good entry-level X570 boards, there isn't a great deal between it. In the UK, maybe £10 to £20. In the US, again, similar sort of deal, maybe $15 to $30. So in this particular build, we've gone with the ASUS Prime X570-P, which is a phenomenal board. Excellent chipset, excellent VRMs, really good power delivery, totally brilliant board, and it was one of the higher rated boards in Hub's testing, which we'll try and put some links to. Also, because this is a placeholder PC, we do want the potential to put in some seriously high-end parts, and the X570-P is no problem there at all. It is no slouch, and again, with that excellent power delivery, you can put in the latest and greatest AMD processors, or at least what is available on the market as of today, which is the 3950X, and I don't see any reason why the 4000 or 5000 series is going to be any issue or any exception to that rule. The X570-P, the one we've got listed in this particular PC part picker list, is a ATX board, a normal ATX size board. Obviously, if you do want to build a smaller system, then you can go micro ATX. There are other options available, and if you want to know what those options are, feel free to drop by our Discord and we can have a chat about it, or just leave a comment in the section below and hopefully we'll answer the question for you. Next up, we're going to move on to memory. Now, memory, I've chosen something which is going to be probably not ideal for some of you, but for me it works and it ticks all the boxes. As we're looking forward, at the moment 16 gigs is absolutely fine for gaming systems, and most people can get away with 8 gigs depending on what they're doing, but it seems that some of the larger games now are stretching the boundaries, so 32 gigs is going to start to become the norm. Obviously, if you are building a high-end system, 32 gigs is probably where you want to be looking. 16 is getting to be that kind of slightly lower tier now, so we've gone for 32 gigs. In this particular one, we've gone with the Corsair Vengeance RGB PRO. Now, a lot of you will be thinking, oh, RGB PRO, that's going to be using all of the Corsair IQ software, etc. And yes, you can do, but Corsair IQ system also works really well with ASUS boards now, so you can actually synchronize your RGB from your RAM very, very easily with ASUS boards now, which is a really nice thing. The Corsair RAM is very, very good, very, very popular, and that is why I have added it. It is available in pretty much all regions. Obviously, there are other options available, so if you want to go with maybe some G-Skill RAM, Trident stuff, whatever the case may be, maybe some silicon power that we've reviewed, which you can check out up here. We've also gone with DDR4 3600. Now, at the moment, this is pretty much the sweet spot for the Ryzen 3000 series. And from what we can see from what the 4000 or 5000 series will be, it looks like they've got DDR4 3200 as their native speed. Also, the Infinity Fabric, we're not entirely sure yet, but there's no reason why 3600 isn't going to be absolutely fine. Maybe we could push that to maybe DDR4 4000 speeds, but as it goes, and with the knowledge that we have at the moment, this is going to be absolutely fine and completely compatible. Pricing wise, in the US, we're looking around about $150. In the UK, we're looking around about £135. So, again, not the cheapest, but certainly is gives you a lot of bling and value for money. And obviously, lifetime warranty of Corsair is really good. Generally, very well received RAM. Next up on our list is our storage. Now, obviously, we have got a board now which has got PCI Express Gen 4 support. So, quite easily, you can use a PCI Express Gen 4 board and get the latest and greatest speeds. But that isn't always the total kind of be all and end all for most people. If you wanted to, you could go out and get something like the silicon power. This is the UD70 1TB PCI Express Gen 4x4 drive. Very quick, very good price. But for a lot of you, I think Gen 3 is going to be absolutely fine and give you the speed you need for your gaming, your game loading, all that kind of stuff. And also should support direct storage from Microsoft, the new API, which works in tandem with the latest and greatest of graphics cards, or at least that's what we've been told. So if you wanted to, a Gen 3 drive like this, absolutely fine. You will find these to be considerably cheaper. This is actually the A60 drive from Silicon Power. Really, really good drive. Lower speeds than the UD70, but still a fantastic drive using great technology, 1 TB again. In this particular listing, I've gone with the Silicon Power A60, which is the lesser of the two drives, but still a very, very quick drive and excellent value for money. If you want to save a little bit more and have slightly slower transfers, then something like the TC SUNBOW drives are actually really good value for money, and you can pick those up for kind of around about £60, £70, which equates to about $80 or $90 in the US, so pretty decent. But again, these deals do kind of vary from place to place, so I've gone with something which is readily available in a lot of places. So the Silicon Power A60 1 TB is where we've gone. Again, swap out those drives however you want. This is basically a guide. If you followed this exactly, you'll have a brilliant placeholder system and it's all totally compatible with each other, but obviously do feel free to make changes. I will put links to this PC part picker list in the video description, so you can check it out and tweak it to your heart's desire. Next up is our graphics card. Now, graphics card wise, personally myself, here in the UK, I would go with a Zotac card such as this, the 1650 Super. This is a really good card. Nvidia cards here in the UK on the second-hand market do retain a tremendous amount of their original value. You can sell these at almost full retail price in second-hand systems. So as a placeholder, if you're buying this now, we're around about £150, £160. Similar prices in the US. The gigabyte version I found on PC Part Picker, the GTX 1650 Super 4GB WindForce edition, is $169.99. So that equates to around about $140, $145. So again, really, really good choice. Fantastic for 1080p gaming. You can do 1440p gaming if you want to, obviously at those lower refresh rates and lower detail settings. But again, this is a great placeholder. And even if you just want to use a nice fast PC, but you don't particularly spend all your time playing games, but you want to be able to play games, then this is a fantastic option. So obviously we've got now our parts and we've got a graphics card, all that kind of stuff, but we really need something to put it all inside of. So what do you choose? So if you're going for a mid to high end system, you need a nice case, ideally something with plenty of airflow. Mesh would be appropriate, and there's lots and lots of options available on the market. So I've gone with something which is a little bit unusual for me here. I've actually gone with the Lanley Lancole II. Now this is actually a fantastic looking case. I really do like the look of this. I haven't actually sampled one, but from the reviews I've seen on various channels, it does look like it ticks a lot of boxes. It gets 5-star ratings, well, 4.9 stars, so that's pretty much perfect in my opinion. It's got all the features that you'd expect from a really nice mid to high end case. So you've got mesh front, addressable RGB fans included, you've got loads and loads of ventilation on the back. No option in this one that I can see for vertical GPU mount, but again, to some people that isn't always something they're looking for. And maybe if you're building this just as this PC is, and keeping it as your placeholder PC, if you've got a card like the Zotac GTX 1650 Super or the Gigabyte version, it isn't a kind of an amazing card. It isn't something that you necessarily want to have massively on display, so I think having it in the normal traditional horizontal mounting is absolutely fine. And a lot of people prefer that. They don't like the GPUs up against the glass in some cases, although if this did have that option, I think it would look absolutely fine anyway. This is just my opinion. Obviously, you can choose whatever case you want, but I think this one actually does have a lot of value attached to it. It looks really nice. Ventilation, you've got the twin hinged windows on either side, which to some people may be a pain or maybe not. But again, you don't always look at both sides of your PC, so having the back side, having a glass panel isn't really a deal breaker, and in fact in some people they may prefer it. You've got some really good options for cable management, you've got some cable covers on the back as well to keep things looking nice. But generally it's just a very well laid out case, and it does actually remind me quite a lot of the Colink Citadel Mesh, the Micro ATX version. If you stretched out a little bit, it's got a lot of similarities with this case, and I like that case a lot, and I like this one a lot as well. So that would be my recommendation, again, round about the kind of $90 mark. In the UK, we don't really get any discount on that at all. It works like roughly about the same price, so about £90. So we do pay a very slight premium on that, but it is a very nice case and is exceptionally popular. So that's pretty much all the parts that we need. The one thing that we haven't got is a power supply. Now, power supply wise, we're going to push the boat out a little bit on this. We've gone with the Seasonic Focus, which is a 650 watt, 80 plus gold certified PSU. I've gone with the semi-modular one. The reason being is you can get a fully modular one, which is a 550 watt for about the same price. So I figured I'm not entirely that bothered about completely modular power supplies. It doesn't really bother me because ultimately whatever you do with a power supply, you are going to have your ATX main power connector and your CPU connector and your graphics card connector. That is a given. You are going to have those regardless. So having the others modular, great news. You don't have to have all those stuffed in your PC. So this for me is a very good trade-off. And at the moment, this is a really good price, around about $100. In the UK, we play a little bit less, around about £75, £80, which, for that kind of level of power supply, and a 650 watt should be ample. Although, obviously, if you are planning on going for some of those higher-end graphics cards, you may want to up the wattage a little bit in your particular system. And if you're not sure which wattage you need, then there is a CPU and Pc Wattage Checker, which you can check out, which I'll try and link in the video description also, so you can see realistically what your system is going to need. But for most people, 650 watts is going to be absolutely ample. If you're pairing this with maybe a 3070, which is the kind of equivalent of a 2080 Ti or slightly above, or maybe you're looking at some of the new big NAVI cards from AMD. We're not entirely sure what wattage they're going to be at the moment, but certainly I don't see 650 watts being a major kind of energy bottleneck. So there is my parts and my selected items for our placeholder PC. Now obviously again, this doesn't have to be a placeholder PC. For this price, $870 or around about £670, this is actually a really good little PC and it will look very nice. You've got some really high quality parts there. Obviously you can trade up the processor. If you turn this into maybe a Ryzen 5 3600 for the time being, this is going to be an awesome PC and it's going to do all the tasks you ask of it for video editing, web browsing, gaming, that kind of thing. Or alternately, swap out the graphics card, put something a little bit higher in if you wanted to. This does have all of the kind of framework and structure of it being a really, really nice PC. Obviously you can add on things like a Windows license, which is going to cost you a little bit more, and I do mean a little bit more, realistically about $4 or £3 here in the UK from premiumcdkeys.com, which I'll put a link in this video description so you can get a key from there. But then even with that, with a couple of dollars added on, we're still way under $900, giving you a little bit of flexibility, and obviously way under the $1,000, so you can, if you want to, stump up for a much better graphics card or much better CPU. So let me know what you think of this placeholder build in the comment section below. I was actually asked in one of my previous videos to do a similar version, a £700 version. So this works out to about £670, so I think that pretty much ticks the boxes on that. And realistically, if I had £700 and I was building a PC for someone and they were slightly concerned for upgrading path, that kind of thing, I think this is definitely where I would be pushing them towards. So anyway, let me know what you think about it in the video comments. In the meantime, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next build guide. Thanks for watching.